The rain was falling heavily on the streets of Madrid as Cristiano Ronaldo stood outside the exclusive Palacio de los Deportes arena at nearly midnight, having just finished a private charity gala where he had been the keynote speaker and main attraction for an event raising funds for childhood cancer research. The evening had run much later than expected due to an extended auction segment and multiple speaking engagements, and Ronaldo found himself in the unusual situation of being without his regular transportation arrangements after his driver had been forced to leave early due to a family emergency that required immediate attention. The combination of the late hour, heavy rainfall, and the remote location of the venue made finding alternative transportation challenging, especially since most ride-sharing services were experiencing high demand and significant delays due to the weather conditions that had created traffic problems throughout the city. As Ronaldo stood under the venue's covered entrance area, trying to arrange pickup through his usual car service while getting increasingly wet from the wind-driven rain, he noticed an older taxicab slowly approaching through the nearly empty parking area. The vehicle was obviously well used, with visible rust spots, a dented front bumper, and the weathered appearance that comes from years of urban service. But it represented his best hope for getting home without spending hours waiting in the rain for other transportation options to become available. When the taxi pulled up and the driver rolled down his window, Ronaldo was greeted by a man who appeared to be in his late 60s, with gray hair, kind eyes, and the patient demeanor of someone who had spent decades navigating the challenges of urban transportation while dealing with passengers from all walks of life. "Good evening, sir," the driver said in accented Spanish that suggested he was not originally from Madrid. "You look like you need a ride, and I was just finishing my shift when I saw you standing here. Where can I take you?" Ronaldo gratefully accepted the offer and climbed into the back seat of the taxi, immediately noticing that, despite the vehicle's exterior wear, the interior was immaculately clean and well-maintained, with air fresheners, protective seat covers, and small personal touches that suggested the driver took pride in his work and cared about providing a comfortable experience for his passengers. As they began the drive toward Ronaldo's home in the exclusive La Finca development, the driver introduced himself as Ibrahim Hassan, a Syrian refugee who had immigrated to Spain 6 years earlier with his family after fleeing the civil war that had destroyed their home city of Aleppo and made their previous life impossible to maintain. Ibrahim's story emerged gradually during the 40-minute drive through Madrid's rain-soaked streets, revealing a narrative of loss, resilience, and determination that profoundly moved Ronaldo and provided him with perspectives on courage and sacrifice that went far beyond anything he had experienced in his own privileged life. Ibrahim had been a successful engineer in Syria, working for a construction company that built hospitals, schools, and infrastructure projects throughout the Middle East, until the war made it impossible to continue his profession and dangerous to remain in his homeland. He had fled with his wife and 3 children, leaving behind their home, possessions, and professional life to seek safety in Europe through a journey that involved multiple countries, dangerous border crossings, and months of uncertainty in refugee camps, where families lived in temporary shelters while waiting for their asylum applications to be processed by overwhelmed government bureaucracies. When they finally arrived in Spain and received permission to remain as registered refugees, Ibrahim discovered that his engineering credentials were not recognized by Spanish authorities and that the process of validation would require years of additional education, examinations, and bureaucratic procedures that his family's immediate financial needs made impossible to pursue. Instead, he had obtained a taxi license and begun working 16-hour days to support his family while his wife attended Spanish language classes and his children adapted to new schools, new culture, and the challenges of building identity as young people caught between their Syrian heritage and their Spanish future. During the drive, Ibrahim shared details about his family's ongoing struggles and achievements in their new country, speaking with obvious pride about his children's academic success despite language barriers and cultural adjustments, his wife's determination to complete her education, so she could return to her profession as a nurse, and his own efforts to save money while supporting his family's immediate needs and long-term goals. His eldest daughter had earned a scholarship to study medicine at Universidad Complutense. His son was excelling in mathematics and hoping to follow his father's path into engineering, and his youngest daughter was beginning to think about university applications while maintaining the highest grades in her class, despite having arrived in Spain with no knowledge of Spanish language or customs. However, Ibrahim also described the daily challenges of taxi driving in a competitive market where long hours, difficult passengers, and vehicle maintenance costs made it difficult to save money or plan for the future, while his family continued to live in a small apartment in one of Madrid's less expensive neighborhoods, where Syrian refugees and other immigrant families clustered together for mutual support and shared cultural connections. As they approached Ronaldo's gated community, Ibrahim mentioned almost casually that he had been working extra shifts for the past month to save money for his taxi's required annual inspection and necessary repairs that would cost more than 2,000 euros, money that would normally go toward his daughter's medical school expenses or his son's educational materials. The inspection deadline was approaching rapidly, and Ibrahim was worried that if he couldn't afford the repairs, he would lose his taxi license and his family's primary source of income, potentially forcing them to rely on government assistance that he preferred to avoid out of pride and desire to maintain the self-sufficiency that had characterized his life before the war changed everything. When they reached Ronaldo's destination, the fare on the meter showed 38 euros for what had been a long drive across the city during difficult weather conditions. As Ronaldo reached for his wallet, he made a decision that would transform Ibrahim's life in ways that neither man could have anticipated at that moment. Instead of paying the metered fare, Ronaldo handed Ibrahim 500 euros and said, "This is for the ride, and I want you to keep the change. More importantly, I want you to give me your contact information because I'd like to help with your taxi inspection costs and maybe discuss some other opportunities that might be beneficial for your family." Ibrahim stared at the money in shock, initially refusing to accept what seemed like an impossibly generous payment for a simple taxi ride. But Ronaldo insisted that the amount was appropriate and that he genuinely wanted to help someone who had shown such dedication to supporting his family despite enormous challenges and personal sacrifices. Over the following weeks, Ronaldo's assistance went far beyond the initial generous payment, as he arranged for Ibrahim's taxi to receive a complete inspection and necessary repairs at no cost, helped Ibrahim's wife find a position at a private medical clinic where her nursing skills would be properly utilized and compensated, and established scholarship funds for all 3 children that would cover their educational expenses through university graduation. However, the most significant change in Ibrahim's life came when Ronaldo learned about his engineering background and arranged for him to meet with construction companies working on Real Madrid's facilities and other major projects in Madrid, leading to opportunities for Ibrahim to work as a consulting engineer while maintaining his taxi license as a backup source of income. The validation of Ibrahim's Syrian engineering credentials was expedited through contacts that Ronaldo's business associates had with professional licensing boards, and within 6 months, Ibrahim was working part-time as an engineer while driving taxi during evenings and weekends, effectively doubling his family's income and providing him with the professional satisfaction that had been missing from his life since fleeing Syria. Ibrahim's taxi became a source of pride rather than just economic necessity, as he used it to provide transportation for other refugee families who needed assistance getting to medical appointments, government offices, and job interviews, creating an informal support network that helped newcomers navigate the bureaucratic and cultural challenges of establishing new lives in Spain. The relationship between Ronaldo and Ibrahim evolved into a genuine friendship based on mutual respect and shared values related to family, hard work, and the importance of helping others overcome obstacles and achieve their potential. Ibrahim's children grew up knowing that their father's chance encounter with Ronaldo had changed their family's trajectory, but they also understood that the real transformation had come from their father's courage in fleeing danger, his determination to provide for his family under difficult circumstances, and his willingness to work hard and maintain his dignity while accepting help when it was offered, with genuine respect and friendship. Years later, when Ibrahim's eldest daughter graduated from medical school and began working as a doctor in one of Madrid's major hospitals, she often reflected on how a rainy night taxi ride had connected her family with someone whose generosity had made her career possible. While Ibrahim continued to drive his taxi part-time as a way of staying connected to the immigrant community and providing assistance to newcomers who faced the same challenges his family had overcome, with help from an unexpected friend who had recognized the value of hard work, perseverance, and human dignity, regardless of nationality or economic circumstances.